The Hunger Games takes place in a futuristic setting of what was once North America. The country, Panem, is split into 12 fenced-off, isolated districts and one totalitarian ruling city, the capital. Each year, to remind the districts of their failed rebellion attempt 75 years previous and the complete power of the government, the capital hosts the Hunger Games, in which a boy and a girl between the ages of 12 and 18 are selected from each district in a lottery fashion to fight to the death.
I just love that.
When Katniss from District 12 volunteers to take the place of her 12-year-old sister, the audience follows her on her journey through the pre-game ceremonies, beauty pageant-style interviews, game training, and into the 74th annual Hunger Games, finding themselves rooting for her in this televised child-killing ritual.
So I've read all the Hunger Games books, and when I went to see the movie, I was kind of nervous because most of the books that had been translated into movies or whatever weren't that good. But I was actually really surprised they did a good job, but because you had to fit 374 pages into 2.5 hours, which is really hard.
Honestly, you can't fit everything from a book into a movie, so I think it was a pretty good adaptation, I guess.
I think they did really well with it. I liked how they introduced the different parts that came in through the other books because it's a very political statement, and I think they dealt well with it being a political movie as well as the book.
They did a pretty good job. I think they relied on the fact that it's putting a big book into a big movie. So they relied on the fact that they've done it with Twilight and Harry Potter, so they took out a lot of stuff under the assumption that everyone's already read the book. And I think they left out a lot of the subversive nature of the novel and the book. But I think they did a good job.
I didn't really know that much about the whole social phenomenon of the Hunger Games before the project. I just went to go see the movie, didn't read the book. I talked to a few friends about the whole thing, and they said that it was a post-war dystopia type deal. It was about the social aspects, like what could happen if we continue our ways. And I guess after reading the book, you're supposed to have a feeling of horror and more emotional attachment to the characters that had died. And I didn't really get that feeling from the movie. I was more mad than anything else because I felt like nothing like that could ever actually happen. But actually thinking about it afterwards, I felt like it was more of a warning than a plausible series of events that could have happened. So I felt like the movie did a pretty good job of doing that, saying what the moral of the story was, I guess. I feel like if I read the book, I'd be able to get more out of it than just seeing the movie.
The film technique in The Hunger Games was very interesting. In the very beginning of the movie, it gets really confusing and you almost get a little bit of a headache because they're using a Steadicam, which is just like a harness with a camera on it so that they can move around quicker, and it gives kind of a shakier feel, which kind of helps with the whole idea of running around and suspense and things like that. But in the very beginning of the movie, you don't really expect that at the beginning, and so it's a little bit surprising, but that stops pretty quickly, and they go ahead and move into the main storyline, which works out okay because then you can focus more on that. The costumes were really interesting. They were one of my favorite parts of the movie. The costuming is one of the points that I was really worried about because in the books, the costumes are really intricately designed. They're pointed out as that's part of the big parts of the Capitol, is having crazy outfits. And so I was really excited for the costuming, and they did absolutely wonderfully on that point. Everyone was just a little bit off kilter, but not too much, just enough to be unusual. And it really made everything interesting.
There was a couple of things that they didn't show the importance of, I guess. So the first one was, if anybody saw the movie, is the mutations eyes, and those are like wolves, and they tricked the last 3 players into thinking that these wolves were their dead tributes, like people from their own district and everything, because they had eyes that looked just the same and all that kind of stuff, and the collar representing their district. And it was really important to the book because it was really disturbing to show how the Capitol not only had complete control to do that, but could just manipulate people's emotions like that, and they left that out. So that was important. a lot of the relationships too, like we didn't get to see the importance of them in the movie. Like Katniss's alliance with Rue. I know I went with my friend David, and yeah, he's a guy, so of course he's not going to get the emotional stuff anyways, but when Rue died, you know, me and my sister were over there crying. He was like, what is the big deal? Like, it was just another, you know, tribute, but, you know, Rue's like following her around the whole time, and when Katniss is trapped in the trees by the careers, Rue's the one that points out the Tracker Jacker nest, and that, I mean, she saves Katniss's life, and she's the one that keeps her alive when she's knocked out by the poison, and so they got really close. And you know, what was really important is that Katniss viewed Rue as like Prim, her little sister. Like she saw her as another little sister, and so losing her was like a really big deal, and it was like really heartbreaking. And I think the audience didn't really, if they didn't read the book, they didn't really understand why that was so important to the movie.
A lot of the people said that the movie should be R-rated, which I don't necessarily agree with, because they tried to make the movie available for all ages, you know, so everybody could see it, and the book was definitely too gory and stuff for all the ages if they had just managed to in there. So they did make it PG, and so that's why I think that it shouldn't have been R-rated, but that is a big complaint about the book versus movie. Also, the kids getting the wrong message, because, you know, 23 people do die in it, and they do, like, kind of, in some ways, you know, don't see that as a bad thing, and so a lot of people are afraid that the kids are going to get the wrong message. And, but in the movie, every time somebody dies, you know, there's like a somber tone. Like, you can tell all the people from the districts are, you know, very upset about it. The Capitol people, which you already know are corrupt anyway, do kind of celebrate it in a way, but you can still understand that it is, you know, still not a good thing, and it is still very, very, very sad. Also, a lot of people complained about the actors and the casting and, you know, the way that the movie wound up looking, but, like, everybody's going to have a different idea in their head. Like, you know, everybody who reads it, you know, no two people's idea is going to be the same. So how do you expect them to put everybody's idea into a movie? So that's where, you know, that was a big deal. Rue's character was a huge deal, because a lot of people didn't see her being played as a black character. But, you know, just because it didn't specify doesn't mean she can't be. And, you know, in my opinion, that just made her death that bigger of a deal, and, you know, the way everybody would react to it.
So basically, they just had too many characters to develop in such a short amount of time, so you didn't really get to see the importance of certain relationships and certain events in